most people, most Greeks in particular, suffer from some kind of a syndrome of knowing almost everything, often with no expertise at all. Therefore, Jessica Rose is here to examine the cost of the cult of expertise. Jessica?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, just to warn everybody in advance, I really, really like public speaking, partially because I'm very vain, and partially because I really love hearing from other people and hearing about their experiences. So this talk is actually going to have quite a bit of audience interaction. It's a good time to escape if you don't want to speak. Also, is there anybody in the audience who English is their first language? Oh, cool. Hey, Simon. I often speak far too quickly, so if I say something you don't understand, go like this. The people next to you, they're not going to see that, but it's very easy for me to see from the stage. First, to introduce myself, my name is Jessica Rose. I'm from America a long time ago, but live in Britain now. So often I have to apologize for being a little bit too happy and a little bit too loud. But so far, Greece seems to be really happy and loud, so I'm sorry for being a little bit gloomy. And I already said this talk is going to have a lot of audience interaction. It's around 4:30. Is everybody very, very awake? You're like, yeah. So I'm going to ask questions. If you see a question mark on the slide, yell an answer at me. The camera can't see you. Your boss will never see this video. It's all fine. So I work in developer relations, which is the best job in the whole world. I get to travel around and talk to developers about what they're building and what they're interested in. But a long, long time ago, I used to be a teacher. So this talk will have lots of raise your hands. I won't point on you and call on you, so you're safe there. And now I work for a company called CrateDB. They're really, really nice. They've always been nice to me. And I'm mentioning them because I'm going to tell you a story, and it's not from CrateDB. This is from a long, long time ago when I worked as a consultant. I worked as a talent consultant helping technology companies find developers. And a long, long time ago, a company came to me and they said, Jess, we want you to help us find a developer. I was like, okay, I can do this, no problem. And they started talking, they say, well, you know what, we want somebody who has 3 years of .NET experience. Okay, that's fine. Personally, I don't like years as a way to measure experience. I don't think it's very effective, but this is fine. I say, okay, we want somebody with 3 years of .NET, and we want them to have at least 2 years of C#. I say, okay, .NET and C#, those go together. Okay, that's fine. So I start saying, perfect, I can help you find somebody. They say, up. They've also got to be a really good graphic designer. And this was difficult because they had brought me to their office and given me really, really nice cookies. So I wanted to be polite where I was like, oh, you know, they're very good cookies. I don't know if that's very practical. Maybe you want to ask yourself why you want this. Say, up. Jess, I'm not done. They should be fantastic on the front end. And I'm still trying to be polite, and the cookies are very good, but they're not that good. I'm getting a little bit less polite where I'm like, you want this? I don't think that's realistic, maybe. They say, Jess, wait. Can they also be our Scrum Master? It is not a Greek company. And I'm doing some things with my face. I'm going, because I want to say something and I don't know a way to say it that's polite, where I say, oh, and they say, Jess, we're not done. Of course, this is a junior role. So we're looking to pay, I don't know, maybe like 16,000, 17,000 euros. I say, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. And they say, okay, well, also, because of course also, our team is all men right now. We'd really like a female developer. And I'm still trying to think of a polite way to say that none of this will ever happen. So instead, I talk to them about the way they've given me a list. I say, do you know what? First, let's look at the format. Checklists for job descriptions are often a really bad way to find talent. So I say, if you want me to bring you some potential female developers, actually listing these skills, which will never happen in the same person, are a terrible way to get it. And they say, you know what? Checklists for job descriptions work really well for male candidates and don't work as well for female candidates. And I wanted to find the data behind this, and this comes from an internal HP study. So Hewlett-Packard found that their technology talent would apply for internal promotion. Men would apply when they met about 50–60% of the checkpoints, and women wouldn't apply until they met every single point. And the company said, oh, okay, we don't care about that. Okay. So now I've eaten all the cookies, and I'm tired, and they're not listening, so I say, look, this is just never going to happen. In my whole life, I've only met one developer who has this experience set. She is a woman. She's fantastic, but she's a senior developer. This will never happen as a junior developer. If you want, I can introduce you, but you would have to pay 4 or 5. You'd have to pay her all of the money. And they say, well, can somebody give me a generic, a woman's name? Any name? Maria. So I say, oh, look, there's only one person I've ever met who meets this. They do live in the city. And they say, well, we've already had someone come to us with this skill set. We've already interviewed somebody, so they exist. So I'm a little suspicious. I was like, did you interview Maria? I was like, yes, we did. I was like, okay, problem solved. Thank you for the cookies. You don't need my help. Pay her 4 or 5 times as much, and I'll go home. I said, well, we interviewed Maria, but she just didn't really interview well. She didn't come across as really confident. It wasn't really helpful. Like, it's fantastic, and of course, all of these things we must have, and all of these things I guess she has, but she just really didn't come across well in the interview. Okay. And now I'm thinking, maybe you're kind of stupid. Maybe I'm just going to make a polite excuse and leave. And I did. I made a polite excuse and I left. And they called me a few weeks later and they said, Jess, don't worry about that. Don't worry about trying to find someone. I'd be like, I'm not. Because we found somebody. We hired someone. I was like, did you hire Maria? No. We found this guy. I was like, okay, a guy, that's fine. You changed it. And he's fantastic. He's perfect. He was so confident in the interviews. We hired him right away. I was like, oh, does he have 3 years experience? No. Does he work with C#? No, we don't need that. Graphic designer? No, why'd we even put that? But he was so confident in the interview. I said, okay, that's fine. And I went away, and I never talked to them again. And I started thinking, and I wrote this talk. And the first thing that occurred to me is they were looking for an expert that had this incredibly specific list of talents, but instead, they hired someone who presented themselves as an expert. So I got to thinking, how do we define expertise? And this is a genuine question. Yell at me. In technology, how do you know someone's an expert? What makes someone look like an expert? It depends. That's absolutely true. But give me some examples. Senior, so experience, been around a long time? No, that's perfect. Don't be shy. Yell at me. Confidence, absolutely. Seniority, length of time in the industry, how confident they sort of carry themselves. I should get a suit. If they're wearing a suit. Yeah, the way they present themselves physically. Anybody else? Yell at me, fuss at me. Don't you raise your hand, just yell.
It's not a thing of years, it's like track record.
Okay. So what they've done in the past. Yeah. Certifications, very, very useful, valuable, relevant certifications. Sorry, I have bad certifications. How much they build? Did you?
When you ask somebody a difficult question, and even if you do not know the answer, it can guide you through something.
Cool. So being able to speak confidently from experience. That's fantastic. Just yell at me. Oh, so expertise is being able to say when you're wrong. I'm going to speak in Greece more often. This is fantastic. Lots of times I give this talk and people are like, cool. So we've got a bunch of different how people present themselves, being able to speak confidently, the length of time in the industry, what they've built. And the question I would have is, these examples, are all of these examples accurately valuing skill? If I show up in a suit, am I more, I would look great in a suit though. Am I more skilled? So raise your hand if you think technology is valuing skill appropriately, if people are getting what they deserve in the best way possible. Luckily, the camera can't see you, and nobody raised their hand. I think somebody in the back was going to, but I think they were just stretching. So what I really want to talk to you about today, and what I want to make a clear definition, is sort of the idea of expertise over here, what we see and what we value and what we recognize, versus skill, versus the ability to do the thing. And this gets even more challenging because when I talk about skill, we're at a Java conference, so I don't just mean somebody who's a great Java developer, but somebody who's a great Java developer who's able to work in the context they need to. Someone who's able to work with their coworkers and not make things difficult for them. Someone who's able to communicate, someone who's able to listen. So skill is really, for me, the ability to get the job done in a really holistic way. And something I always try and warn people, a lot of times when we interview people, you get people who sound fantastic. And self-promotion is a skill. Being able to say, oh, I'm so good at this, da-da-da, I did that, that's absolutely a skill. But when you're looking to hire someone, or when you're looking to get a job, is self-promotion the type of skill we should be screening for in technology? For some kinds of jobs, if you work in marketing, or if you work in PR, or if you work in developer relations, maybe self-promotion is a skill you need. But if you're looking for someone to help guide your team, or if you're looking for a developer to work alongside, how much do you care if they're good at self-promotion? A question I'm going to open up to the audience, who is identifying skill for us? When we see people who are skilled in our communities or skilled in our companies, who makes those choices? Who helps us decide who's skilled? Management? Recruiters, sorry? Oh, I can't hear you, I'm so sorry. Oh, HR, sorry. So HR, management, recruiters. Hang on, wait, over here. One more, were you allowed? Leaders of a team, or I'd say even leaders of a community. Anybody else? The team, ooh, nice, the team themselves. So we've got a bunch of different people who can be identifying skills for us, and some of them are really hierarchical. Some of them are the people who hire or the people who make the decisions, and some of them are really democratic, the team themselves. So management can get a new person in and say they're fantastic, they're experts, and the team has the opportunity to go, no. And something that gets really challenging is self-assessment. So oftentimes the people who think they're the best are not always the best. I know all of you are looking very surprised. So oftentimes the people who think they're the smartest, the people who think they're the best, the people who think they're the most wonderful, that's not always true. And the fantastic thing about this is there is a scientific name for people who are not very good at things who think they're excellent. And to get there, I'm going to tell you a small story about a scientific study. Has anyone used lemon juice as invisible ink? Oh, cool. If those of you who haven't, you're going to need an old-fashioned light bulb. If you write a message in lemon juice on paper, it's invisible until you hold it up to a hot light bulb. And a long time ago, back in the 90s, a man in America decided to rob a bank. And before he robbed the bank, he put lemon juice on his face so that he would be invisible to the cameras. And you'd be very surprised that it didn't work. And where I would read the newspaper and read the story and laugh, there were two researchers called Dunning and Kruger, and they know that grant money is a real thing. So Dunning and Kruger, I like to think they were reading the newspaper and they said, hey, look at this. This man thought lemon juice would make him invisible. And they said, do you think stupid people know they're stupid? Let's do a study. Let's get some money and let's do a study. And they did a study. So they got a test, and they gave a test to about 2,500 people. They say, here's your test. Thank you very much. And then they took the test away. And then they asked all the people. They didn't show them their scores, but they said, show me on a graph how you think you performed relative to your peers. Before I give you your test scores, tell me how much smarter you are than other people. So the scores look like this. I used to be a teacher. This is very, very normal for scores. You've got people who don't perform very well and people who are fantastic. Whoop, I'll come back. And when you ask people, how did you do? How smart are you compared to other people? They found that the people who were the least skilled rated themselves artificially high. The people who are I'm trying to think of a way to say the most stupid without being mean. Folks who were the least capable thought they were the best. And actually, the further you go down this line, the more likely you are to underestimate your own skill set. And this is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. I love talking about this because every time I mention this in a talk, someone comes up afterwards to say, hey, I know that person. I work with that person. And it's always, that person was my boss. And oftentimes in the question and answer, I get asked, what do I do if this person's my boss? You need to quit your job. Because this person doesn't realize that they're not very good. They're unable to recognize skill. They have no idea how good you are. You just need to go. So when you ask for people to step up and identify themselves as experts, say, who's fantastic at this? The people who raise their hands, don't always trust them. And so far, this has been very depressing. I said, oh, we're not doing a very good job at recognizing skills. We're not doing a very good job at recognizing real expertise. This exists, and it's terrible, and there's nothing you can do. So far, all very depressing. I'm sorry. But I'm going to talk to you about three different things. I'm going to talk to you about teams and expertise in your workplace first. And then I'm going to talk about community, and I'm going to talk about individuals. So hopefully there are some small things you can do to fix things. Hopefully this is useful for managers. Hopefully this is useful for open source communities and community members. And hopefully it's not too depressing for individuals working in technology. It's a little depressing. So with teams and expertise, who here hires as part of your job? Who is involved in the hiring process? You interview, fantastic. Oh, well, not fantastic, it's very difficult and stressful. Fantastic, I'm sorry. Who here is hiring right now? Who has a job open right now? Cool, keep your hands up. Who's had that job open for 6 weeks? 2 months? 6 months? 1 year? Oh, cool. 6 months seems to be where people are sticking. And with those questions, if you're looking for someone for 3 months or 6 months or a year, I always ask people, think about what you really need. What do you need the person to do immediately? So if you have a list of, I want a Java developer who's great at Photoshop, who's also a scuba diver. Maybe they don't need to be good at Photoshop. Stop and ask yourself, when I'm writing job descriptions, I really like to write them based on time. We all like to say that we're hiring for potential. So say, we're looking for someone to do this job. In the first 2 weeks, you need to be able to do these things. So the skills you need to have right now are these skills. Within the first 3 months, we want you to be able to do these things. Within the first year, we want you to be able to do this. It gives people the opportunity to grow in the job, and it gives you the opportunity to hire a bit more flexibly. A lot of people will see a long list and just opt out. They say, I can do that, I can do that, I can't do this, I won't apply. Think about where you're looking for your talent as well. Skilled, non-traditional talent will often carry additional value. So I was just talking to the folks at Capgemini in London, and they just did a really, really interesting thing with recruitment. They had an open recruitment drive for people who were in technology, but dropped out of the industry and want to come back. So they ran a recruitment drive looking for 15 or 20 people and had, I think, 250 applications. They had senior software engineers, they had senior security professionals, they had senior architects. Just by asking people who weren't in sort of the normal mainstream tech section, they had really brilliant talent come up and fight for a place. Ask yourself what you can be doing to tap into talent that you're not already talking to. I don't know, in Greece, is it common to require a university degree for? Don't do that. If you have the option, don't do that. Yeah, I graduated with an English major. That's not helpful. Look for your processes as well as your results. How many people are applying? How many people respond to your interview request? If you have access to Google Analytics for your job descriptions, and absolutely get Google Analytics on your job descriptions, look at the number of people who view the site, the amount of time they spend, and then look at your conversions. How many people actually apply? It's a fantastic way of looking at whether or not your job descriptions are useful, and it gives you the opportunity to A/B test job descriptions the same way you would A/B test any other pages. And I've been talking about how to hire people, how to hire people, how to hire people. The difficult thing about expertise and skill is right now you have brilliant, talented people on your teams. If you don't recognize them, they're going to leave. That's expensive, but that's also a jerk move. Who here has ever worked with someone who wasn't the best at their job, but got the most attention? For folks on the video, about half the people raised their hands, but everybody looked very pissed off. They'd be like, ah, that guy. A lot of times you get people on a team who make a lot of noise, that say, boss, 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 look what I did. Boss, 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 I made this. Those are not necessarily the people on your team who are building value. Look at who's helping other people. Look at who's been around. Look at who's mentoring. Look at who's quietly building things. The people on your team who are fantastic at self-promotion might be doing terrible work. I say, Jess, that's still very depressing. How do we fix it? Well, if you're interviewing people, ask them to show you instead of telling them. I talk to a bunch of different development communities, and sometimes people will offer me jobs. They're like, Jess, do you want to come and write Ruby for my company? I say, I can't write Ruby for your... No, I can talk about Ruby a little bit, but the ability to talk about something comfortably has nothing to do with the ability to do it. I really, really like asking people to do a short piece of contract work as part of their interview. If you're giving them a test, that's okay, but if it takes more than 2 or 3 hours, you should probably pay them, just to be nice. Test for the skills that you really need. If you're giving someone a test, if you're giving someone a task, really think about it. Think about it the way a teacher would think about a lesson plan. What are you looking for? What are the skills here? Are they going to be talking to other team members? What's important? And this is my favorite thing in the interview process. Who here uses pair programming in your interview process? Oh, I love this. And I always have to be very careful to explain, this is a trick I love to discover jerks before you hire them. On this side, you need your most junior developer, if possible, an intern. Somebody who's young and happy and not an exceptionally good programmer yet. For this to work, you need to let them know that they will not be in trouble. They say, intern, we love you, you won't get in trouble, but we want you to pair program. Over here, you want a senior person who's interviewing for a job. In a perfect world, senior, middleweight, a developer, a manager, pair programming with a junior person at the company they want to work with, you think they would be really nice and really polite and really helpful. And that is not always true. I've seen people interviewing who've yelled at the intern, who've swore at the intern, who tried to send the intern out of the room. Having a senior candidate pair program with an intern is a fantastic way of finding out who you don't want working on your team. I really, really like, for the screening process, where you're trying to get a bunch of people in, blind interviews or blind auditions. So blind auditions are quite difficult in technology, but blind screening is quite easy. Who here removes names and colleges from CVs before you look at them? That's cool. Almost nobody does it, so this company does it. I don't work for them, but they give tests and they remove all of the identifying information before they give you candidates. So you say, let's build a test for a fantastic Java engineer. And you build a test together. They give the test to all of your candidates, but you don't see any of their identifying information. You never know if it's a man or a woman, if they're young or old. You never know if they went to university. You never know if they dropped out of high school. All you know is they were the best at the test you thought was good. So far, jobs, 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 hiring, hiring, hiring. I want to talk really quickly about communities. I think that it can be really, really difficult to see people in companies rewarded over people with additional skill, but I think that can be really challenging in communities as well. For communities like the Java community here in Athens to grow and become stronger and become more inclusive, we need a diverse range of viewpoints. We need identified experts, self-styled experts, recognized voices, but we need newbies. We need folks who really want to help out on documentation. We need folks who love running events. We need a wide range of ideas and perspectives to keep our communities really healthy. And part of that is just, we deserve better heroes. I know with social media and technology, every few weeks you'll see something like, oh, this big name in technology, they're actually a jerk. Of course they're actually a jerk. Everything is terrible. I have a bad case of 2017. But our communities can have better heroes. We can have people who've done better work, being better recognized for it. Whereas in a company, you have to wait for your manager to make a decision. Communities are incredibly democratic. You choose who the experts are in your community. But just like a company, unrewarded talent will leave. You don't have to raise your hand. You could just make an unhappy face. Who's left a community or left a project because you weren't rewarded? Oh, I love how people are just like, I'll raise my hand. But how do we fix this? How do we make our communities more inclusive of real talent? How do we find real skill? And the first thing I'd say is be more suspicious. If I jump up on stage and I say, hey, I'm going to tell you all about the important things about skills and expertise. You say, really? Really? Why you? People in technology love to ask hard questions. Ask hard questions nicely. And take time to really look for where the value in your community is coming from. Who here has ever said something nasty on social media or sent a sarcastic pull request when something's broken? If you used an open source project and something's broken, who complains about it? All right, I was going to say either Greece is far too nice or everyone's lying. Who's taken time to send someone a nice message, a compliment about something they've built or something they've fixed? Maybe Greece is really nice. I can move here after Brexit, right? And take time to highlight incredible people and projects. Folks who raised your hands where you say, oh, I've said thank you for open source tooling I love. Absolutely do this. Take time. It's an incredible way to keep people in the community. Say, hey, do you know what? To the organizers, you did a fantastic job on this event. We really appreciate it. So far, we've done ways to make your teams better. Ideally, don't hire jerks and keep people who are fantastic. Ways to make your community better, looking for skill. But also, I want to talk about individuals and expertise very, very quickly. And this one's the most difficult. Who here has ever left a job because you weren't being treated well enough? Who wasn't getting what they deserved and left their job? Cool. For folks on the video, that's about 3/4 of everybody. This is so challenging. You need to understand your own skill set, and you need to understand your own value. Part of this is selfish. You need to understand your own value so you can demand, maybe nicely, but demand, appropriate treatment. When you go into an interview, say, I know that I am this good. Or when you go to negotiate salary, you say, do you know what? I absolutely know I am this good. But also, you need to know your own value because it makes you a better learner. When I was a teacher, I actually worked with linguistics and language learning, so it's very embarrassing that I don't know any Greek. There's a concept in language learning called the zone of proximal development, and it's my favorite concept. And I think it comes outside of language learning, and it's very valuable for technologists as well. And this is saying that there's a space in your mind where you learn best. If you're working on work, if somebody's giving you work and it's easy work, and you've done this again and again and again, you can do the work, but you're not learning anything. But if you're being given work that's too difficult, first off, you can't do the work, you're going to be unhappy, and you're going to damage your motivation. Where you always want to be for learning is your current level plus 1. So if anybody plays RPGs, the too easy, it's like bopping slimes, level 1 monsters. You can do it, it's easy, but it's not fun and you're not going to level up. Right here, that's like tackling the boss on your first day. You can't do it, and you're not going to get any experience out of it. Where you want to be is monsters just a little bit bigger than you. And by knowing your skill set and being confident around that, you've got a great way to say, hey, here's where my skill set is. I think I'm an expert in these areas. Please give me work that's more challenging. Please give me projects where I can expand my skill set. Being more sure of your own expertise is better for your team and better for your company. But that's very selfless. But like, you'll learn more, you'll help the company, they'll make more money. Also, I want you to get what you deserve. And I know this is an English idiom. Folks have you heard get what you deserve? Is it usually positive or negative? Negative. Yeah, you'd be like, Sandra, she's such a jerk. I hope she gets what she deserves. But no, this is in the good way, hopefully. I want you all, I want everybody in technology to get what they deserve in the best possible way. If you are in a position where you're being underappreciated, if you're in a position where you deserve more money, if you aren't getting enough credit because there's a Dunning-Kruger person on your team sucking up all your credit, I want you to get the best of what you deserve. I do a lot of one-on-one mentorship with people, and this is what I always tell people when I start mentoring. Right now, someone who's less skilled than you and someone who doesn't work as hard as you is getting paid more than you. And I was like, how does this idea make you feel? Fantastic. Yeah, oh. Hopefully, I want you to be angry, but also productively angry. Be like, that's not fair. I should get more money. So how do we fix this? How do we get you what you deserve, but in the good way? Self-promotion's a skill, but that means it's a skill you can develop. Who here has a technical blog? Amazing. Those of you who don't have a technical blog, absolutely, even if you hate writing, I'm sorry, write technical blog posts. Who here does any public speaking? Way. For those of you who don't and want to, chat to me after this and I'll help you. You get to travel and people clap. Even if your talk is bad, they'll clap. After this, you'll clap. Self-promotion means that it's a skill you can develop if you have the time and if you want to. Unfortunately, if you're unrewarded talent and you're someplace where people aren't giving what you deserve, you might have to leave. If you're in a company or in a community that doesn't appreciate you and doesn't recognize your talent, there is no way you should continue working for them. If you have the opportunity to move on to bigger things. Talk to people who want to help you with mentorship. Talk to people who want to connect you to better jobs. If you think you're being underpaid, come talk to me after this and I'll go through my network and see if anybody's useful. My favorite hobby is trying to bully people out of lousy jobs. Yeah, remember that nobody can make you stay. Technology, we're so privileged, we're so lucky. There's an incredible demand for developers. There's an incredible demand for Java developers. There were people here who've been hiring for roles for 3 months, 6 months, a year. If you needed to, you could go on and do something different tomorrow. Thank you so much. So very quickly, if you thought this talk was fantastic, please say something nice on Twitter to my company so they keep letting me travel. Wait. If you thought this was terrible, don't talk to them, talk to me. And if you thought this talk was very boring but you want a present for having been here, this is my favorite animated GIF in the whole world. It's a dog in a suit. It's very good, I promise. Everybody's taking pictures, but like a dog in a suit, yeah. Does anybody have any, quick.
I'm quite sure that someone would like to say something to you.
Of course, please.
I'm sure. So who?
And if anybody wants to tell me a terrible story about your experience, my DMs are open. So if you want me to make a talk about you in the future, tell me your terrible story. I won't use your name.
Hello.
Hello.
So, in the very beginning of the presentation, you showed this, how you say it, job ad with all these skills required, which is very common, and we see it every day. And we've been seeing it for the last 15 years. And we've been talking about it for the last 15 years, and it hasn't changed.
No.
Why is that? If you know, of course.
People are terrible. Oftentimes, so I think there are two big reasons. Oftentimes, people are trying to hire the person who left. Say, do you know what? We have someone in this job who has Marcus. Marcus is working this job. We love Marcus. Marcus is leaving. And you know what? Marcus is a great JavaScript developer. He knows a lot about scuba diving. He's a great graphic designer, and he plays guitar. Let's write a job description where we get a new Marcus. I think people are looking to fill exact holes, and it gets very strange. But oftentimes, recruiters are very, very far away from technical workers. So I think a lot of times recruiters and HR don't have a clear understanding of what a realistic job description looks like.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and often you have a committee. So you have 5 or 6 people say, oh, we need this, oh, we need, and they just write it all down. So people are terrible. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I have another question.
Of course.
If you don't mind. Yeah. So one of the other things is that people mention people who have experience in hiring, they mention that it's impossible to really understand if prospect is a good fit for the company in just one day.
Yeah.
And they have also showed graphs that say that it's really close to 50% at the end if he will be a good fit or not.
Yeah.
Can we really fix that? I mean, I know programming it's a good idea, but does it really give you in one day what you want?
No, I think that humans are fantastic, but we don't scale very well. So there's no one-size-fits-all way to tell if this person will work well with this team or this project. I think that if we're more careful and more considerate, we can do much better than 50% success rate. But I think that it's going to be teams feeling out different ways to do that on their own. So I think it's possible, but short-term, not very likely.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Two things. The first, your URL doesn't work. Not found.
Oh, that.
But okay. I want to see the dog. And the second question is about firing people.
Oh yeah, I love firing. Well. Yes, please.
Why do you fire good people?
I will put that GIF back up. I'm sorry. Please ask about firing people.
Okay, exciting moment. You didn't talk about, you gave some good examples how to make an interview and find people who are not fit for the place. But about firing people, should we fire people or we see they are not as good as we wished? Or for, imagine 3 years that people didn't evolve or develop new skills that you was hoping to, or when you should make, how do I say, a program for them to evolve or talk with them. You should evolve in this 6 months. You have this goals, or otherwise you're going to get fired or fire the person. Do you have any policies? What do you think about firing people?
So this could get really, really challenging because I understand that different EU countries have different laws about how and when you fire people. I am a big advocate for firing jerks. So if you have people on your team who are consistently making other people miserable, or who here's worked with somebody who's just terrible? Yeah, I'm a big fan of firing them first and then digging into productivity. I think that if you're able to get rid of the people who are not acting in good faith and who are just terrible, that oftentimes you find the productivity of other people on the team picks up. That's probably not a very good answer for your question.
No, I was talking about people who don't deliver as much as you want. Imagine you pick them and you put like in another position where they do less and you don't expect much, or this situation has been going for 2 years, so you fire them.
If it's just something where it's completely impossible to work with and they're not delivering in a way you can't work, quite possibly. If I'm sorry, I'm a former teacher where I'm like, never give up on anybody except for jerks. So I'm really interested in when people aren't performing, wherever possible, working with them to say, what parts of this job do you like? What do you think you're doing a good job at? And if it's possible, redirect them to things they feel successful at. If not, oftentimes you do just have to make decisions that are hard, which is a fancy, polite way to say fire people.
I'm afraid we'll have to release Jessica. Let's meet downstairs in the closing session.
Cool. And I'll put the Sheba GIF right back up, I promise.
Rate while exiting, please.